Hello, my name is Joanne Seward and I'm the Technical Services Librarian at Oak Creek Public Library. Thank you for viewing this third video in the series, Office for Beginners. Today's topic is Microsoft PowerPoint. Presentation programs allow users to develop graphic presentations and are widely used by professionals and students alike, but also non-professionals and non-students. Anyone can use it. So PowerPoint slideshows can help report progress in a meeting, define key elements in a training session, pitch a marketing plan, or organize ideas in a student report. Microsoft PowerPoint is a powerful tool that allows users to create professional computer slideshows, transparencies, or printed handouts quickly and easily. So the objectives, what we're going to focus on specifically in this video. We're going to learn basic navigation skills to effectively use the Microsoft PowerPoint program. We're going to create, edit, and format a simple slideshow presentation. We're going to add animations and work with different presentation views. And then lastly, we'll review how to save, print, and open. So the first thing that we need to do is open Microsoft PowerPoint. One of the ways that we can do that is going down to the Start menu down here at the bottom left-hand corner and clicking on Start, and then clicking on All Apps. This will bring up a list of every single program or app that's installed on this computer. So if I scroll down to the P's, and then here is PowerPoint, and we're using 2016. So I just click once on PowerPoint 2016, and it will open. So this is the startup screen. For those of you who watch the Word or Excel videos, a little review that you can choose other presentations that you've already worked on from right here by clicking on Open Other Presentations. You can start something totally from scratch from the startup screen, or you can search for an online template, so something that's pre-created that you then just tweak a little bit. So we're going to start with a blank presentation. So I'm just going to click once on blank presentation. And now let's talk about the parts of the window. So once again, this should be a little bit familiar for those of you who have watched the Word or Excel videos. So the ribbon is this entire section across the top right here. Inside the ribbon, we have the tabs, starting with File, Home, Insert, and going all the way over to View is the very last tab. So remember, these tabs group all of the similar kind of functions together. That's the general idea. Inside of those tabs, there are groups. So the very first group in Home is Clipboard. So there's Cut, Copy, Paste, and Format Painter in here. The next group is Slides, the next group is Font, and so on. So the groups also group similar things together. So like for font right here, anything that you want to do with the font, changing the size, changing the color, making it bold, italicized, underline, etc., is going to be in this font group right here. All right, some new parts. On this left-hand side, this is called the slide preview pane. So right now we just have a number 1 because we only have one slide and it is empty. So that's why there's nothing in that box. This gives us a little miniature of all of our slides so that we can see them at any time. And we can easily flip from one slide to another by clicking on it in this slide preview pane. The slide you can see itself is right in the very middle. And then we also have the status bar down here. So it tells us how many slides we have. And then another big important thing in here is the zoom feature. So I can zoom in by clicking on the plus sign and zoom out by clicking on the minus. And remember, the zoom function doesn't apply to when you're printing. It only applies to what you're actually viewing on the screen at that time. So, all right. So what we're going to do is start by creating our title slide. So typically when you have a PowerPoint presentation, the first thing that you want to do is have a title slide that basically outlines, gives people an idea of what your presentation is going to be about. So we're going to do just a simple one. So I'm going to click right here where it says click to add title. Notice when I click in there, the flashing cursor is right in the middle. That's a visual cue to let you know that this text is going to be centered. If the flashing cursor was over here on the left or even on the right, that would not be the case. But because it's right in the center, we know that it's going to be centered, which is fine. We're going to leave it that way. So I'm going to type in the title of our presentation. There it is. And then I'm going to click where it says click to add subtitle. Once again, you can see the flashing cursor is right in the middle right there, so it's going to be centered. And I'm going to type in the subtitle. Okay, so believe it or not, that is all that we are doing at this exact moment for the title slide. So what we need to do next is create another slide. So in the Home tab, in the Slides group right here, we have New Slide, there's Layout Reset, and Section. So if you click on this little symbol of a new slide, it gives you a default template, and you don't always want that. So I always recommend clicking on the words New Slide, because then it gives you options in here. And typically the best way to think about this is what you want to put on that slide. So do I want a title and maybe like a picture? Do I want a title and 2 pictures? Or et cetera, you know, a picture with just a caption, just a title, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to kind of think a little bit in advance of what you actually want on your slide. So in this case, we just had the title slide, so we're not going to do another one of those. What we're going to do is the title and content. So we're going to click on there. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, our slide preview pane. So now the baby safari animals, slide 1 is kind of small, and then slide 2 is empty because that's the one that we just added. So we're going to start with the title again. So I'm going to click where it says click to add title. And I'm going to type in the title, which is information. All right, and then underneath here, I actually want to add bullets. So I want to click where it says click to add text. Notice how there's this grayed out bullet right there, okay? If I hit backspace, it will actually delete that bullet. So if you don't want bullets, that's really the easiest way to get rid of them. So you would just hit backspace once, and then you would type in whatever you want to put there. In this case, we want bullets, so we're just going to leave it. So I'm going to type in all of the bullets. Give me a moment to type in all of the text. Oops. It would help if I spell correctly. I'm just pressing enter after every bullet so that I get a new one. And there are all of my bullets. You might have noticed that a kind of cool thing happened with this last bullet. It actually changed the size of the font a little bit so that all of the text could fit in there. So to give you an example, if I press enter right now, watch what happens with the text. And you see how it just got smaller? If I press enter again, got a little bit smaller. Press enter again, got a little bit smaller. So this is really cool. I'm going to undo it by clicking on the undo arrow up here at the top left corner. Get rid of those guys. There we go. Okay, so this is one really cool thing about PowerPoint that doesn't happen in any of the other Office programs. So in this text box, what it'll do is it automatically resizes the text so that everything fits inside the size of this text box. That doesn't work in any other program. So like in Publisher or Word, if we insert a text box and we start to fill it up, what happens is the text just kind of seems to disappear because it's going underneath this. Imagine this is a window right here. And so our text, you know, it's not like the window is getting bigger, it just is underneath and you can't see it. So in that case, you have to manually either change the font or change the size of the text box. But with PowerPoint, for some reason, with text boxes, it will just automatically do that for us, which I love. It's fantastic. All right, so the last thing that we're going to do with this is change the list level. So in this case, let's say that we wanted to indent this very last sentence right here. So my flashing cursor is clicked, and it can be anywhere in the sentence. It doesn't matter where it is. And we're going to go to the paragraph group up here. And then this little set of lines with an arrow pointing to the right is the increased list level. So if I click on that once, notice how this bullet now is a little farther over than the original one. So this is like a sub point off of this first one, okay? If you want it indented even more, you can click on the arrow again and it will keep on moving, see? And you can notice too that the font actually gets a little bit smaller as well. And it can also work the opposite way. So if I went like too far with this, I can click on the arrow pointing to the left to do decrease list level, and it will decrease it, okay? You can also do this by using tab or shift and tab. The tricky thing about that is you have to be at the beginning of the sentence. So let's say I want to indent the second sentence, even though the animals may seem tame, etc. I have to click before the E of even, so you can see my flashing cursor is at the very beginning of that sentence. And if I press tab, you can see it indents it in. I press tab again, indents it in, tab again, and so on and so forth. Once again, if I went too far, I'm going to do shift and tab, and it will take it back. Shift and tab, shift and tab. So just like Excel, if you press tab, it indents over to the right. It's the same concept with bullets. So if you press tab, it indents it to the right. To do the opposite, to go to the left, you need to do shift and tab, okay? All right, so that's kind of the basic points of having a bulleted slide. So the next thing we're gonna do is create another new slide. So I'm gonna go to the new slide button up here in the slides group again. And this time I wanna choose to content, okay? So I'm going to start with the title. Once again, I'm going to click where it says click to add title, and we're going to start with baby lions, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put bulleted text over here and then a picture over here. So for bulleted text, just like we did before, we're going to click where it says click to add text, and we're going to type in the sentence called cups. And then I'm going to press enter to get another bullet and type in the last sentence. Okay, so that's all I'm going to have as far as bullet points on this slide. So what we need to do now is we want to insert an online picture. So over here on this right-hand side, I didn't point out to you guys before, but there are 6 little grayed out symbols right here. So the very first one at the top left is to insert a table. So if you want a table in your PowerPoint presentation, you want, columns and rows with text in it, then you would insert table right here. If you want a chart, you would do insert chart, and then you would put in the data that you want in that chart, just like it basically opens like a mini Excel file is basically the way to think of it. There is insert a smart art graphic. Smart art graphics are basically like flow charts. That's the best kind of comparison that I can give you at the moment. So like a pyramid, there's a triangle at the top that leads to 2 boxes, that leads to 3 boxes, and so on and so forth. And then you can type in text in that chart or the graphic, okay? The bottom right corner is to insert video. So if you want a video to actually play during your PowerPoint presentation, that's one way that you can do it, is right there. There are online pictures, which is what we're going to do in a second, and we have pictures. So the difference between pictures and online pictures are pictures that are saved to your computer or to your flash drive, whereas online pictures are things that are online on a website. So I'm going to go ahead and click on online pictures. And automatically, it always will search in Bing. You might be like, well, why doesn't it search in Google? That's because it's Microsoft Office. So Microsoft Office owns Bing. That's part of their company. And so that's why they're going to send you to the Bing website. So just to keep that in mind. So I'm going to click in this search Bing box, and I'm going to type in baby lion and press enter. All right, and here are some baby lion photos that show up, and you can scroll down and see which one you like, and etc. I'm going to point out right now to you at this bottom section, there is this little yellow bar that says these results are tagged with Creative Commons license. So this basically means that you are legally allowed to use these photos. Whereas if you did show all results, it would show you every picture of a baby lion that you could find on the website Bing, but you may not legally have the rights to be able to use that photo. So you might want to be just a little bit careful or keep those kinds of things in mind, okay? So once you find a picture that you like, you simply click on it and it'll put a little check mark at the top left-hand corner. So that's how you know that one is selected. And then simply click on Insert at the bottom right. All right, and there is our picture of a baby lion. So we're going to add another new slide. So we're going to go to the Home tab and click on New Slide again. And we're going to do the To Content again, because we want to do kind of the same format that we did for baby lions. So now we're going to do baby elephants. And once again, I'm going to do 2 bullet points just because in here. All right, and we're going to insert another online picture. So over here on the right-hand side, these little symbols, I'm going to click on online pictures again, and I'm going to click in the search Bing box and type in baby elephant. And here are the results that display. So you want to choose whichever one that you like. Let's go with this one. And then click on insert. And there it is, okay? So let's talk about how to resize and to move this picture now. So let's say that we, didn't really like how this picture is positioned, or we want it larger, etc. So on the corners of this picture itself, you can see there are these little white circles. So these are the resize arrows, basically. So this is how you can resize your actual image. I wouldn't recommend, for the most part, going to one of the middle ones, like on the middle, on the side or the bottom or the top, etc., because it will stretch out the photo in a way that's disproportionate. So let me just show it to you right here. If I click and hold and drag and stretch it out, see how it got all kind of warped and weird looking? So I'm going to click on undo. What you want to do instead typically is use a corner. A corner will actually stretch it out then proportionate. So if I click, hold, and drag, there it is. Okay, so you can see it stretched it out evenly, more proportionately. So now let's say I want to move this. If I go to the middle of this photo, you can see that my cursor has changed into this 4-arrow move cursor. All I have to do is click and hold down, and I can drag and move this wherever I want. I probably don't want to go in front of my text because then you can't see my text. So let's go over to the side over here, like right there. Okay, and then you just let go wherever you want it to go. And if you don't like it, you can just click on it and drag it wherever else you like. Maybe I want it actually right there instead, okay? So that's how to resize and to move your image. So let's do another new slide. I'm gonna go to the Home tab again and click on the words New Slide. And I'm gonna choose To Content again. And this time we're gonna start with, we're gonna do baby giraffes. I'm gonna start with the title again, baby giraffes. And I'm gonna add 2 bullet points again in here. So I'm just gonna click where it says click to add text and type in my bullets and press enter to get a new bullet. All right, so once again, I'm going to add another online picture. So over here on the right-hand side, and just so you know, I'm just arbitrarily choosing this left-hand side to have text and this right-hand side to have a picture. I could have had this left-hand side be a picture and this right-hand side be text. It really doesn't matter at all. It's just your personal choice. So I'm going to click on online pictures again and click in the search Bing box, and I'm going to type in baby giraffe. Okay, so here are some different baby giraffe photos. So let's say I wanted this one right here. So if I click on it and then click on insert, all right, there it is. So in this case, this is a good example of this is way too small. So let's make it bigger right away. So I'm going to use this corner move handle, click, hold, and drag, and make it bigger like that. And then it's covering up the text, so I need to move it. So if I go to the center of the photo to get my 4-arrow move cursor, click, hold, and drag, and I can drag it down to that kind of bottom corner right there. Okay. All right, so let's talk about some additional formatting that you can choose. So there is a contextual tab that has appeared, this format tab right here, that gives us quite a bit more options. In the picture styles group, you can see there are all of these little pictures of like clouds and, you know, mountains and water basically. These are frames actually that it'll give to your image. You can kind of see it's kind of doing a little preview of what it's going to look like right there. To the right of there, we have an up arrow, we have a down arrow, we have a more arrow. The more will show us everything that's available in there. So there is an oval one, there is a big thick black frame, there is, you know, more of a circle, there's one with a shadow. So basically you can choose any one of these that you like the most. So let's say I like that one. So I'm going to click on it and then it applies it to that. If you decide, oh, no, I don't really actually like that very much, you can go back in here and then choose a different one. So maybe I actually like that one better. Okay. All right. So the next thing that we can do is choose to recolor this. So in the adjust group right here, there's color. If I click on color, we can change the color saturation, the color tone, and then we can also recolor it. So we can make it a blue giraffe or a green giraffe. So you can kind of, you have a little bit of flexibility with that. Personally, I like the color saturation because it kind of brings it into sharper focus, I guess is the best way that I can describe it. So I'm going to choose like the saturation 300%, just because that's how I like what it looks like. Okay. All right. The last thing we're going to do with formatting our image is to crop it. So let's say, you see how you can see the shadow at the bottom left-hand corner? Let's say that I didn't want to be able to see that, or this right-hand side, I didn't want to be able to see as much of the shadow as we do right now. That is a great example of when to use cropping. So cropping is cutting off either the left, right, the bottom, or the top of your photo. Unfortunately, you can't cut out somebody in the middle. So like if there, you know, is some random person in your photo in the background, you can't cut them out that way. You would have to use an actual photo editing software. So cropping is just for the edges. So I'm going to click in the size group right here. I'm going to click on crop. And you can see it pops up these little thick black lines on the edges. So because I want it to go past the shadow, I'm going to go to the middle right here and click, hold, and drag it in until that is gone. And then once I let go, you can kind of see there's this gray area. This gray area is just letting you know that that was the original photo. But if I click off to the side, notice now that's gone. I can't see any of that gray or any of that original, you know, shadow that was there. So if I click back on the picture and go back to the format tab and crop it again, let's do the other side now. So I can go in with the right and crop it down. Let's go about like there, let's say, and then let go and then click off to the side and there it is. Okay. So let's say I wanted to resize this now because it's a little bit small even. So I'm going to click on the image and I'm going to go to the corner move handles and click, hold, and drag to resize them. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. And there is my finished formatted picture. Okay. So now we're going to review, for those of you who've seen the Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel video, we're going to review how to save. So remember with saving, you want to do it fairly often, you know, especially if you've worked on something for a while and have it the way that you want it and you don't want to lose your work. Make sure that you save it periodically. So to save, I'm going to go to File at the top left corner, and then I'm going to click on Save As because I haven't saved this anyplace before yet. So I have to click on Browse in order to tell it where to save it to. And let's save it to my flash drive. So right here, the sent in USB is my flash drive. You might see, it might say removable disk or removable storage, etc. Okay. All right, the file name is set to baby safari animals. That seems pretty descriptive. So sure, let's just leave it how it is. Otherwise, I could use backspace and change the file name to be whatever I wanted it to be. So I'm going to click on Save. And now it will be saved to my flash drive. So remember that if you need to save it to someplace else, then you need to choose Save As, or if you want to change the name of the file, you have to choose Save As. But otherwise, if you're saving it just to the same place that you saved it to before, then all you would do is click on File and Save. Okay. All right, so that is kind of a review of how to save. Now we're going to talk about how to select a theme. So a theme is, you see all of this background stuff that's just plain white, and how the text right here is just normal, plain, black colored text. So theme is going to be applying kind of a background to every slide that we have. So we're going to go to the Design tab up here at the top left-hand corner in order to apply our themes. And you can kind of see here some of them right there. Notice there's an up arrow, a down arrow, and there's another more arrow. So there's more that we can see. So let's click on more. And here are all the different types that you can see. And you can see it kind of gives you a preview of what it's going to look like when you put your cursor on it, which is kind of cool. Okay. All right. Since we're talking about Safari, I'm going to choose this green one right here. It's called Facet, I guess. So I'm going to click on there. And then notice all of a sudden every single preview of our slides in the preview pane has changed. So you can see now it applies this kind of background formatting to every single slide. And you can also see it changes the font. So right here, the font is now green for the titles. And then the bullet points used to be just like black circles, and now they're little green arrows. So the theme applies to the entire slide as well as any of the font on the slide. So that's why whenever you apply a theme, you want to go and look back at every slide to make sure that you can see all of your text and it hasn't moved a picture on top of your text for some reason, etc. Okay. So make sure that you always kind of double check your slides every time that you change a theme like that. Okay. All right, so that's an easy way to add a theme. So the next thing we're going to do is font formatting. So we are going to start with this slide right here. So font formatting is exactly the same as what we did in Word and pretty much Excel. We need to select the text. So let's say I wanted to change this 10 hours right here. I'm going to use click, hold, and drag in order to highlight it. So you can see it's highlighted gray right there. And then I'm going to go to the Home tab and I'm going to make some changes. So I'm going to increase the size of the font in this case. In the font group right here, you can see that it's size 18. I want to point out to you real quick, there's actually kind of a cool way that you can increase the font size is this A with an up arrow. You can also quickly decrease the font size by clicking on this A with the down arrow. So if I click on this once, it'll move it up to the next kind of degree, so to speak, which in this case was, I had it at 18 and now it's at 20. If you click on the up arrow again, now it's jumped to 24 because that's the next degree, so to speak. So, but we just want to do just one up, so that's just slightly larger. So I'm going to click on the down arrow to decrease it a little bit. Okay, so now it's just a little bit tiny bigger than the rest of the font because I want this part to stand out. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is make the font red. So I'm going to click on this A with a red line underneath it for the font color, and then that'll change it to red. And then the last thing that I want to do is give it a shadow. So in the font group right here, before we've always seen bold, italic, and underline. Shadow for PowerPoint is new. That's something that you don't have available in any of the other Microsoft Office products. So I'm going to click on shadow. And hopefully you can kind of see a little bit that it does give it just a little tiny hint of a shadow behind the letters. If I had it huge, that font, then you would be able to see the shadow more. Okay, so what I want to do now is use Format Painter because I want to take this formatting changes that I made and apply it to other slides. So let's say slide number 4, I wanted to do this 3 days every 5 years. I would have to highlight it, I would have to change the size, I would have to change the color, I would have to make it shadowed. And then if I want to do the same thing for slide 3 and the 6 weeks, I'd have to select it, I'd have to change the color, change the size, make it shadowed, etc. And it gets to be a lot after a while, especially if you have, like let's say you wanted to change all of the titles or etc. It starts to get to be a little too much. There's an easier way. So that is the Format Painter. So I'm going to go back to slide number 5 where I already changed my font. I'm going to click, hold, and drag to select the font that I changed. And now in the clipboard group, there's Format Painter is right here, this little paintbrush. So I'm going to double anything that I click, hold, and drag to highlight it will apply the same formatting that we did. So it'll change the size to 20, it'll make it shadowed, and it'll make the text red, okay? And you can see my little cursor has a little paintbrush. So that's how I know Format Painter is turned on. So I want to go to slide number 4. So if I click on slide number 4, and like I said, I wanted to do this 3 days every 5 years. So very carefully, I'm going to click, hold, and drag and select just that text and then let go. And there you go. Very quickly, it changed it to that exact same font formatting. If I go to slide number 3 and do the same thing for 6 weeks, I'm going to click, hold, and drag and let go. And there you go. It's applied. Okay. Be careful. You might accidentally choose more than you wanted to. So like, let's say I accidentally selected this first sentence. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So that's when you have to do the undo arrow. Okay. All right. So in this case, it actually got rid of my 6 weeks too. So now I have to do that again. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag and reapply that 6 weeks. There we go. Okay. It undid this one too. That's weird. All right, let's do that one as well. There we go. Okay. So the other thing with Format Painter to keep in mind is you need to turn it off after a point. So in this case, we've applied all the changes that we want to these 3 slides, and now we're done. So you can see my cursor still has a paintbrush symbol, which is not what I want. So I need to click once on Format Painter, and then it turns it off. So I can click, hold, and drag and select anything, and it won't change it at all, okay? So kind of think of it like caps lock. If you press the caps lock key, every single letter that you type is going to be capitalized until you turn it off by hitting caps lock again. It's the same kind of principle with the Format Painter. So double clicking will turn it on, and then you can apply those font changes to anything that you select. And then clicking once on Format Painter will turn it off, and then you are good to go at that point. Okay. All right, so that is kind of the basics of font formatting and Format Painter. All right, so I'm going to insert one last slide. I want to insert the slide at the very end. So if I am on slide number 3 and I click on New Slide, it's actually going to put a blank slide between 3 and 4, which is not what I want right now. So I want to go to the very last slide. So click on slide number 5 and now click on New Slide. And in here, I'm going to do title and content this time. Okay. All right, so you can see I have 6 little miniatures over here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to start with my title again, where it says click to add title. And I'm going to do presented by, and I'm going to put my name. There we go. All right, and then down here, let's say that I wanted a picture. So we were inserting online pictures for these 3 on the left-hand side, but this time we're gonna actually insert a picture that we have saved to our computer. So we're gonna click on the pictures symbol in here. And you can see it brings up this little window where we can choose where our photo is actually saved to. For the most part, most people are gonna have their pictures saved to their pictures folder because that makes the most logical sense. In this case, I actually have it saved to the sent in USB, my flash drive. So I'm going to go to my sample pictures folder and then choose one of these pictures. So let's say I wanted to do the tulips. Okay, so I just click once on the photo that I want to insert and then click on the word insert. And there it is. And once again, I can resize it by using the corner move handles. I can click, hold, and drag and move it around to wherever I want on the actual slide, etc. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to add animations to our slide. So animations refer to basically making something move on your slide. And you can do that for pictures, you could do that for text, you could do it for a chart, a table, a graph. Basically anything that you can insert onto your slide can be animated. So I'm going to let's do this tulips one first. So I click on the picture that I want, or whatever it is, you want to click on it in order to select it to give it an animation. And I'm going to go to the animations tab up here. And you can see in the animation group, we have these green arrows, which are different ways that you can animate it. However, notice there's an up arrow, down arrow, and there's another more arrow. If I click on more, look at all of these different animations I can choose. You can have an entrance effect. You can have an emphasis effect. You can have exit. You can have all three of them. So I wouldn't go that crazy with it, but you could. All right, so let's say that I'm gonna just stick with an entrance effect because that's kind of the most common thing that you would do. Let's do fly in. All right, and did you see it gave you a little quick preview of what it's gonna look like? If you missed it, up here at the top left-hand corner, there's the preview button. If I click on that again, there we go, you can see it again. Notice how there's a number 1. This little number 1 lets you know that this is animated and it's the first thing that's gonna be moving on our slide. So if I decide to then animate my text right here, then that would have a number 2, etc. Okay, so that just lets you know. And then I'm also going to point over here on the left-hand side where the slide preview pane is. Underneath number 6, there's a little tiny star. That little tiny star lets you know that there's something animated actually on this slide. Okay. All right, so let's do the same thing for our other images. So I'm going to go to slide number 5 right here, and I'm going to click on what I want to move, which is this giraffe photo. And I'm going to click on the more arrow and choose one of the entrance effects. Let's do wheel. And there it is. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go to slide number 4. I'm going to click on the baby elephant, and let's do shape. It's going to be an oval. There we go. All right, and then the last one, go to slide number 3, click on the baby lions and choose another one. And all of these could be exactly the same. It can all be different. Once again, it just depends on your personal preference. So I'm going to do this grow and turn. There it is. Okay. So you can see slide 3, 4, 5, and 6 all have animation effects, that little star. Okay. All right. The only other thing that I would say with animations is you want to use it sparingly. Even though I could animate, I could animate the title, I could animate this text, I could animate a picture. If I have multiple pictures, I could animate every single picture. You don't want to get too crazy with it. You want to use it a little bit more sparingly. Otherwise, it will start to distract from your actual PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So in this case, using one animation per slide, usually that's safe. You don't want to go with too much more than that typically. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the different presentation views. So I'm going to go to the View tab up here at the top. And you can see we have presentation views as the very first group, okay? So what we're looking at right now is the normal view. That's why it's kind of highlighted in gray right there. So the normal view is seeing the previews in the little slide preview pane on the left-hand side, and then seeing your slide large on the right-hand side, okay? All right, let's go to outline view. If I click on outline, notice all of the little pictures of the slides have disappeared in the preview pane, and it is just text. That is it. There's nothing other than text. And then you can see on the right-hand side, it shows you the actual slide as it looks, when you're going to be presenting it. The only time that you're probably going to do outline view is if you're doing a presentation that's more text heavy than it is visually. Because sometimes it's nice to kind of give you to type, you can actually, et cetera, et cetera. But to start out with, most people are probably not going to use outline view. All right, the next one, slide sorter. If I click on slide sorter, it gives me miniatures of all of my slides. So that's all I can see are these little miniatures. This area is the easiest way to move my slides around. So let's say I actually wanted this information slide to be after the baby giraffes. So if I click and hold down on slide number 2 and drag it down, notice how everything just moved over so that I could put it there. And if I let go, now what used to be slide number 2 is number 5, and baby lions now is number 2. So this is the easiest way. Just click, hold, and drag, and you can move it wherever you want to move it to. Okay. So that's slide sorter. The next one we have is notes page. If I click on notes page, it shows me, this is actually showing you basically what it's going to look like if it prints. So it's showing you one slide, and then there's this empty space down here where it says click to add text. And I can actually click in here and I can type whatever I want in this box. The notes page, the idea is it's for you as a presenter. So nobody else is supposed to see that. It's only supposed to be for you. And the idea is typically you would print this so that you have it in hand. So things that you don't want on the slide, but that you want to make sure that you actually mention are things that you should type in the notes page, okay? The last one is the reading view. Reading view is basically like viewing your actual PowerPoint presentation, but it's not full screen essentially, okay? The only thing that's weird about this is in order to get out of this view, you have to hit escape at the top left corner, okay? And then it'll take you back to whatever previous view you were at, okay? All right, so those are the different presentation views in order to view your slides. So now that we have all of our information and all of our animations and all that good stuff done, let's play our slideshow. So we are going to go to the slideshow tab up here. We have from beginning and from current slide. So if I wanted to start it for whatever reason with this slide, then I would want to choose from current slide. But typically you probably want to do from beginning. So I'm going to click on from beginning. And you can see it takes up the entire screen all the way around, okay? So let's talk about how to go through our slides. So one way that you can do it is just simply clicking anywhere on your slide. So if I just click once, now I'm at my next slide, okay? And if I click again, you'll see my animation photo pop up. There it is, okay? You can hit the space bar on the keyboard. We'll make it advance. You can use the right arrow key on the keyboard. We'll make it advance as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can move between slides. Also down here, very, very lightly, you can see it hopefully, there are arrows. So there's an arrow pointing to the left that will take you to the previous slide, and an arrow to the right that will take you to the next slide. So if I click on the arrow to the right, now I'm at the next one, which is that information slide. And if I click on the arrow to the left, it takes me back to a previous slide, and I can click on it again, and it'll keep on going to the previous slides, okay? All right, so the idea is you just navigate through however you want, using your mouse, using the keys on the keyboard, arrow keys, using the arrows down here at the bottom left corner, whatever works for you. And then eventually you'll get to the end and it says end of slideshow, click to exit. And once again, you can just click, you can use the arrow keys, etc. And it will take you back to your actual PowerPoint presentation, okay? So that is how to view your slideshow. All right, let's talk about how to print it. So printing is kind of the same concept as what you might have seen if you watched the Word or Excel videos. So we're going to go to File, and then we're going to click on Print in here. Okay. So you can see a preview on the right-hand side of what it's going to look like. So right now there are 6 pages that are going to print because each slide is printing as one page. Okay, you can see it right there. Okay. So remember, you can change the number of copies if you want multiples of every page. You can change which printer it's getting sent to. The most important thing for PowerPoint are the settings. So specifically where it says this right now, where it says full page slides, if I click on here, it gives me additional options. So I could print the notes page. Remember how I was saying if you wanted to print this, you know, you typed in notes and you want to print it in order to have a copy of it while you're doing the presentation. That's where you would want to do it, is change it right here. You can have an outline view, which is just the text. And so there's no images whatsoever. And then we have a section that's called handouts. So the handouts, there are, you can do 1 slide per page, 2 slides, 3 slides, 4, 6. You can do all the way up to 9 slides per page. So if you are trying to print something that has like 100 slides, you might want to do 9 slides just so that you're not wasting a ton of ink. But the one that I like the most, especially if you want people to take notes while you're actually presenting, is the 3 slides. So if I click on 3 slides, notice it gives you this little area to the right with lines. so people can actually write notes next to your slides while you're actually presenting. So that's one of the kind of cool things with the handouts that you can do. All right, and then the last thing, let's talk about how to open a file. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to close out of this. And in this case, yes, I want to save it because I made all of these changes. So I'm going to click on save. Okay, and I'm back to where we originally started. So one way to open it is to go back into PowerPoint. So I'm going to go back down and click on start at the bottom left corner. I'm going to go to all apps again, and I'm going to scroll down to PowerPoint. Click on there and open it up. And let's pretend it's not over here on the left-hand side underneath recent. So if it's not over there, you're going to have to click on open other presentations, and then you're going to click on browse. Browse will bring up this window and you have to choose wherever you saved it to. So in order to open something, you have to remember what folder you actually saved it to. So in this case, we saved it to the flash drive. So I'm going to click on sent in USB. And then here is the baby safari animal. So if I click on it once and click on open, and there it is. All right. Okay, so that was the Microsoft PowerPoint for beginners. Hopefully you learned a couple additional little tidbits that you might not have learned before. If you have any questions, feel free to email the library at library@oakcreekwi.org. And hopefully I will see you for the next video, which is the last video of the Office for Beginners series, which is covering Microsoft Publisher. All right, have a good day. Bye.